Okay. So what you just learned, what Cole just told us, and what you just saw in that example that I just gave you, is that this form will give me the roots. How does that form give me the roots? Right. I set the y to 0, which means x plus 3 has to equal 0, or x minus 1 has to equal 0. We've already seen this when we were doing our radical equations, right? So once I see 3 and negative 1, I should be able to start my graph, yes? So where do I put my first dot? Negative 3. Cool in the gang. And where do I put my second dot? 1. Is everybody happy with that? Everybody's cool with that? Okay, now, how do I then graph this? You could convert it to standard form. Is there a way I can graph it from here? Knowing what you know about parabolas. Pardon me? Up 1, right 1, or, well, right 1, up 1, right 2, up 4. From what point? From both? Then I would get this. Don't write this down. Over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. Over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. I would get that. That's not right. Talk to your neighbor if you need to. Discuss for me where over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4 has to start. Take a moment and talk about it. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Max! Say loud and proud what you were discussing with Amarit right now. That's your loud and proud? Come on, you're wearing a soccer jersey. Ole, 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 ole. Let's go. Loud and proud.
The vertex would be at the negative 1.
Why do you care about the vertex?
Because then we can decide how far to go up.
Right. So what Max, in his sideways, backwards, looking around the world way of answering my question, which was, where do we start counting up 1 over 1 from? It is the... You just said it. What point are you trying to find? Vertex. The up 1 over 1 is from the vertex, yes? Do I have a vertex here? I do not. But Max remembers that every parabola has an axis of symmetry, yes? And where does that axis of symmetry go? Right through the middle, right? So if this is at negative 3 and this is at 1, right through the middle has to be a axis of symmetry, doesn't it? How do I find the middle of that? How did you find it, Max? Because I was eavesdropping on you.
Alright, so negative 3, if you move that right 2, it's negative 1, and then if you move that 2 more, it gets to 1. So it's in the middle.
Negative 1, negative 1, right? So, what do we know? We know that we can get the roots. We already knew that from our last unit. Then Max says the vertex is between the roots. Yes? Right? So he went boom, 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 found the vertex to be the axis of symmetry to be -1, correct? Does that give him the vertex? Why not? A vertex has 2 points, yes? 2 coordinates, an x and a y, yeah? What did you just find? The x. So what can I do with the knowledge that the vertex of this guy over here, my vertex x, equals -1? What can I do with that knowledge? I can replace x's with -1, can't I? So knowing that, we know that the y value, vertex y, equals -1 plus 3 times -1 minus 1. What is that? What's -1 plus 3? 2. What's -1 minus 1? -2. What's 2 times -2? -4. So what's my vertex? -1, -4, correct? So -1, and I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my vertex. And since there's no a value, I know that this just follows the normal curve. Everybody cool? Everybody cool? All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just slide right down to the bottom of this page, and I'm going to talk about the 3 things that we just learned from this form, okay? Because it says right there, patterns. So what are the patterns we know from here? 1, the roots. The roots exist where? When x minus p equals what? 0. And when x minus q equals 0. Yes? That's the algebra, right? Now, when it's in this form, you can see it immediately, can't you? Because it's going to be the positive p and the positive q, right? Everyone agrees, yeah? So in this form, we'll do a nice easy one. X minus 5, x plus 2. What are the roots? Should be able to see that in your head. What are the roots? 5 and -2. Everyone agree? Everyone's cool, right? Okay. What if it's not an easy one? What if it's 2x minus 6 and 3x plus 1? Then what do I do? How did you find those, Sukhpal? So he had this. He moved the 2x. I wouldn't have. 2x equals 6. And x equals 3. And what'd you do over here? Does everybody see how to do the roots from factored form? Excellent. Okay. What's the second thing factored form tells us? Max figured that out. He said it's the vertex is midway between the roots. Actually, no, it's not the vertex. Well, yeah, it is the vertex. Right? Yeah, yeah. The vertex is also there, though, isn't it? But from the roots, the roots only give us the axis of symmetry. And the axis of symmetry is always found the same way. It's x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And you may want to highlight that because that's another little trick I'm giving you. x1 and x2 are my roots. So looking at this question, 5 and negative 2, what's 5 plus negative 2? 3, right? Right? And what's 3 divided by 2? So the axis of symmetry exists when x is 1.5. Everybody got that? And then the third thing you can get from this, you can get the vertex by subbing in the axis of symmetry value. Into the original equation. Okay? So what I want to do with you guys, I want to do the 4 on this page, and then I want to shut up and let you look at 104, 105, and yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let's have a look at these 4. You can work with your neighbor if you need to. Let's go, 5 of them. We'll go slowly through it. Does that tell me immediately where my roots are? It's a pretty easy one. Where are they? Negative 3 and positive 1. Negative 3, positive 1. Okay, where's my vertex? Oh, I lied. Where's my axis of symmetry? X is negative 2. Guys, look, it's the exact same roots as here. So what is my axis of symmetry? Negative 1. Once I have my axis of symmetry, I know my Vx equals negative 1, yes? So then all I need is my Vy. We know that it's in here, it's negative 4, yes? Except now there's a 2. So what's my Vy? In the blue one, it was negative 4. Now, there's an A value, negative 8. Then I draw my circle. My parabola. Okay? Let's do the third one. What are my roots? 4 and 6. So what's my axis of symmetry? 5, because it's right in the middle. So my Vx equals 5, because that's my axis of symmetry. Awesome. Once I have 5, what do? Plug it back in. So what's this one? 5 minus 4. What's that? 1. And what's this one? 5 minus 6. What's that? Negative 1. What's 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. Negative 1. And there's my graph. Easy peasy, right? What are my roots in the next one? It should be real easy, because they are exactly the same, aren't they? Right? So I had 1 at 4, 1 at 6. My axis of symmetry is right through the middle at 5. Now, in this one, it was negative 1 because the parabola opened upwards, yes? What do you notice about A here? It's negative, so the parabola is going to do what? Open downwards. It's the opposite, right? And it's not 1, it's a half. So how far up do I go? Pardon me, Burke? 1/2. So that point is 1/2. So it's going to stretch this way. Everybody cool? All right. This one, for some reason, you guys can't do very well. What are the roots for this guy in green? Everybody can find the first one. Everybody knows it's negative 2. What's the other root? X plus 2 would have to equal 0 to be a root, right? So it's negative 2 plus 2. What would x have to be to make y 0? Y equals x. That's what's left, right? So what would x have to be? 0. So my axis of symmetry lives where? Right in the middle. Negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my axis of symmetry is at negative 1. What do I do with negative 1 once I have it? Plug it in. What's negative 1? Negative 1 plus 2. What's negative 1 plus 2? 1. What's negative 1 times 1? Negative 1. Gouda? Great. And the last one I'm going to do together with you, what are my roots? Negative 4 and pardon me? Positive 1/2. Because 2x minus 1 has to equal 0. So 2x has to equal 1, so x has to equal 1/2. Now we're in a bit of trouble, aren't we? Because that axis of symmetry isn't so easy to find, is it? But I know my axis of symmetry always equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. What's my first root? Negative 4 plus 1/2 divided by 2. What's negative 4 plus 1/2? Negative 3.5. What's negative 3.5 divided by 2? Some of you can't do that in your head, so what do? Get out your calculator and find out that it is what? Negative 1.75. So there is my axis of symmetry at negative 1.75, right? So where does that go? I'm going to need my calculator here, aren't I? What's 2 times 1.75? We know it, it's negative 3.5, right? Negative 3.5 minus 1 is negative 4.5 times negative 1.75 plus 4. What's that? 2.25. What's negative 4.5 times 2.25? Pardon me? Negative 10.125. So way down here. And then I graph it. Now, I'm going to stop. I probably should have stopped earlier. I should have read the room better. That's fine. I'm going to ask you tonight to please do 104 and 105 in whatever method you choose. Your choice. Of method. Now, listen, please. I recognize that today is a day fraught with emotion for a great many of our peers and a great many of the staff. And I also recognize that even if today is not fraught with emotion for you, you were probably up late last night. So that is why I'm going to stop instruction with what we did today, because actually what we did today was nothing new, was it? You already knew how to find those roots. You already knew the axis of symmetry was between the two, and you already knew how to sub back in. So I'm going to leave you with that tonight, and tomorrow we will continue with these and let's say Quiz Friday. So you can talk amongst yourselves now, or you can do math, whatever you need to do. You're here for, I think, another 18 minutes or something. Tomorrow we will I will do a couple of warm-up questions. I haven't done warm-up questions in a while. That will be the kind of questions that you may see on this Quiz Friday. Okay? Everybody cool? All right. So work on what you need to work on. Sorry, Mr. T. Pity the fool. Sorry, Max. I remind everybody in the room, if you are feeling the need for X block assistance, the list is up. There are only 2 people, 6 people signed up in my X block right now. I got lots of space.